All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual who is set to headline the BKFC Fight Night offering, which goes down on February the 28th, and a very intriguing bout set to go down as Bekhzod Usmonov takes on Keith Richardson, and great getting to have Keith on Bare Knuckle Bowker today. How are you doing, man?
Good. How's it going, brother?
Yeah, doing great. Just yeah, curious to get your thoughts on this one because seems like a relatively quick turnaround. Obviously, your last fight was quite brief, so I imagine the quick turnaround was easy enough to facilitate. But I guess what was the timeline like? I guess getting the bout offer for this Usmanov headlining fight.
I told them I wanted to be busy. As soon as like a lot of times like after a fight, I'll try not to think about any of that stuff for about a week, and then I'm already plotting the next move. Like I prefer to be busy. I'm a fighter, so I prefer to be fighting. Especially early on in my bare knuckle career, I fought four times in 10 months. Uh, and that was, like it felt like it helped keep me locked in, keep me focused because I'm always training. But like, unless you've got something to train for, like you don't always train your hardest, your hungriest, and it's great to have that focal point. So as soon as that last fight was done, I was ready to line up another one. Whether it was for the belt or it was just putting another body in front of me.
Yeah, and I'd seen you had a post where you were talking about 2024 being a year that had some ups and downs, but you ended the year right to the scale where it reignited your passion and hunger and I guess desire to take over again, to use your operative wording. Can you, I guess, encapsulate your last calendar year? Like, because like you said, the ups and downs were there, but it seemed like, that latter part I mentioned of the passion and hunger getting reignited. Just curious to get your thoughts on this fight as we head into your first fight of 2025.
Yeah, I'm always training. I'm always training hard. Like, that's one of the good things about like owning a gym. Because I've always got to get my guys ready. I probably do more grappling than any other bare knuckle fighter on the roster. Just because like I take my responsibilities as a coach really serious, but I tend to lead from the front. So like if they're doing it, I'm doing it. But there is a big difference between training hard and training hungry. And that was the big thing for me. Like, going from being so active in 2023 to then I didn't get a fight for 9 months. It kind of it just kind of wears on you mentally when you're pushing that hard, but you don't see you don't have a goal in front of you. There's no finish line. And then the finally the Blas fight popped up, but I could just tell my mentality wasn't the same. I trained hard, like I was in shape for that fight. And really I just made one mistake and was made to pay for it. But and then after that, I still had a decent amount of breaks. For me, two fights in a year ain't enough. Um, I like to compete. I like to, like right now I could be sitting around waiting for that title shot, but you know, I'm a I'm a fighter. Like I need to be fighting. I need to be in that ring. I need to be putting knucks on people's faces. So I'm planning on 2025 being a much more active year. Plus, I'm not the youngest fighter. I don't have all the time to freaking sit back and waste. And you know, uh, I need to get after it while the going's still good.
Yeah, and I did see in a recent article on the BKFC site you were talking about, well, if I don't fight, I don't get paid. And you were even talking about how you had taken like your first, full vacation from fighting last year, but you were still training through the trip. So I think that kind of even exemplifies the point too.
Yeah, definitely. I've never took on like a true vacation in my life. Uh, yeah, like when I travel, I travel a lot, for fighting. You know, I'm well traveled, but whether it was fighting or the Marine Corps, like I'm required to I'm required to do battle whenever I go places, or I'm coaching, or like they're all like work trips, like with the exception of like going somewhere for like a weekend or something like that. But like a true vacation, and it was only like 5 days. I trained I think three of them. But it was 5 days. Me and a couple of my fighters, we all went out. Like we all traveled to Medellin, Colombia. Like it was ate what we wanted. Like like had all kinds of fun. Like beautiful country. Uh, and it was nice. But at the same time, I'm thinking about getting back to work and putting knucks in people's faces.
Yeah, and to your point of traveling for fights anyway, and then also wanting to be active this year, I mean, it seems like that confluence can kind of be met by what BKFC has been doing with a lot of that continued global expansion and everything, like with the Italy and Dubai cards coming up, like not those cards specifically, but just this idea of that continued international expansion. And you could get some like work related travel in, even in that sense, potentially.
Yeah, BKFC is taking over the world right now. Fastest growing combat sports organization in the world. Like just this year I got to travel to Spain to corner Tony Soto for his fight. Awesome experience. That really showed the direction that the BKFC is stepping into. We're fighting in a old bullfighting arena. Black tie. Like it was an amazing experience. Uh, yeah, got to train the whole time when I was there at a beautiful gym, and then and just you know, so it was still a work trip, but didn't have to fight like anybody else. Just a person punching me in the face was like Tony getting ready.
Yeah, for sure. And so cool to see all of that. And obviously, a lot to talk about with this upcoming fight. But I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on a point from the last outing in Atlanta at BKFC 69, because you had a quote in an article that I was seeing talking about how people, thought you were done despite what you amounted to one bad fight and everything like that. And it seemed like that irritated you at the time a little bit, like people kind of like forgetting who you are and what you've been able to do prior to that juncture. Like, how did you feel, getting that kind of an emphatic win, like just illustrating that you're still very much that guy, to use the operative wording from the article? Like, was it a thing of like proving people wrong or proving yourself right? Like, how would you characterize that feeling thereafter?
It's a little bit of everything. I don't really, I try not to really like listen to outside people too much. Like I have a saying where uh, never take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't take advice from. And like generally, I like if I'm only taking advice from people that I admire, respect, and uh, they know their shit. Um, but at the same time, like I notice like a lot of people I get like I get the questions like, oh yeah, when you're gonna retire and stuff like that. Like I think people are waiting for the fall off. With me being an older fighter and stuff like that, which most fighters there's just going to be like, and it happens generally. It happens pretty quickly where there's just a fight where you look like even if they win, they're just not the same guy that you're used to seeing. And like with everybody, like everybody's kind of staring it down. I'm like, it's not yet. It's not that time. Um, I'm still that dude. Uh, so like sometimes you got to remind these guys. Yeah, that was the first loss I think I've taken in like 6 or 7 years. Um, and I only try to take hard fights. Like I don't try to take gimme fights. Don't try to take like I want to be motivated by my opponent. I want to be motivated by the fact that like this guy, like if I don't take him seriously, I don't train properly, I don't do this. Like this guy can hurt me. You know, um, I always tell my guys like uh, train like you've never won, fight like you've never lost. Uh, and that's kind of the mindset. Like, I want you to be fearful in training that this guy's not fearful of your opponent, but fearful of the fact that this guy might be training harder than me. This guy might be pushing himself more than me. This guy, like, this guy thinks I'm like, Godzilla, so he's training to defeat that. Um, and then when you fight, like, you need to be going in there with the confidence of like, there's no way that he trained harder than me. There's no way that like he's more prepared. There's no way that like he saw more killers in camp.
Yeah, it's just wild to me because it just shows how much there's like that, I guess, recency component with like a certain segment of the combat sports fan base. Because, I mean, as you illustrated, multiple years across, multiple combat sports not tasting defeat. And even just within BKFC, like starting things off with, a fight of the year nominee and winning the title from Reggie Barnett Jr., one of the more tenured bare knuckle fighters out there at bantamweight, and just in general, and doing that in less than a year. Just kind of wild that people sort of almost forget all of that in just one singular instance like that. But yeah, what do I know, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's combat sports like in general. Like it's kind of kind of like wildlife. Like like even if you're the king of the jungle, you've got hyenas sitting there nipping at your heels, waiting for you to not pay them any attention. Like and then there's always people in the like pride and stuff like that, and sometimes you gotta go out there and remind people who the king of the jungle is.
Yeah, and I mean, you definitely did that with the statement you were able to make in your last outing. And it was kind of cool to see just like a lot of the residual support that I was kind of seeing from your fellow fighters, just even, you know, BKFC champions like Kai Stewart and Connor Tierney. I saw them were commenting on the video of your finish. And even a thing that I thought was cool is some of your divisional peers were also very complimentary as well. I saw Ryan Reber and Justin Ibarola also had good things to say on that. So just kind of cool to see that sort of camaraderie and stuff like that with some of the BKFC fighters in general, and even some of your peers within the bantamweight division also.
Yeah, definitely. I think you treat people with respect. You be a good dude. Like just because we fight each other, to me, that like it's nothing personal. Like we will go out there and fight like we're trying to kill each other. But before and after, it doesn't have to like. I don't even look at like the sport as violent. I look at it as like violence is a uh like kind of a symptom of it, but like I look at it as competition. I want to defeat you because I'm competitive. It's not because I hate you, or there's very little people that I don't get along with. There's very like that the Blas fight. The first time I ever had to push somebody at weigh-ins was Blas. Like I've got almost 50 professional fights. I think I've garnered a lot of respect. From my peers, my fellow fighters. Just one by the way that I like. I carry myself, being a good, respectful guy, and then just always coming out there and putting on good fights. Like you know, I think they see the work, they see they see the level of hard work that it takes to get achieve that level of technique and talent and drive. And I think like the other fighters like there's a lot of mutual respect.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find a way to phrase this because I don't want to make it seem like I'm like making an excuse for you per se, but just you're talking about how the, I guess, tension or bad blood or however you want to phrase it leading into that Alberto Blas fight was uncharacteristic for you. Like, if you get your ideal outcome and get the big victory here against Usmanov and get that rematch that you desire against Blas, do you see the, I guess, like temperament framework being a fair bit different to where it could be more about just, I guess, the usual competitive temperament and mindset in the rematch as compared to how things were in the first fight, if that distinction makes sense?
No, absolutely. I don't just the execution of it. Like, I have a feeling a lot of it's still going to be the same. Like, that's just who he is as a person. Yeah. Like I don't like I don't see that any different. Like, and it didn't affect me too much, but enough to make a slight difference. Like in a and it was just it made me a little bit over aggressive because I wanted to hit him. I wanted to freaking yeah. As cool and calm and collected as I am, yeah, yeah. Like I'm a fighter. I'm a Marine. Like the, like and I saw a moment where I hit him didn't land clean, but he can tell the amount of power that he knew if like he got clipped with a shot, he like and I got over aggressive in wanting to hit. Generally, generally I wait for my opportunities and I tried to force it because I wanted to hit him. Uh and just missed by a little bit and he landed the counter shot. And it that sometimes, especially at that high of a level, that's all that makes that little bit makes the difference. Um, and I like occasionally I've had that issue like in the Scoggins fight, like right after I dropped him, I got dropped because I got a little over aggressive and like I'm best when I'm hunting, not when I'm chasing. I specifically remember like, after I dropped Reggie the first time, I was like, all right, you got there, you'll get it again. Don't rush it. And you kind of see I kind of played back, especially like, after like the rest of the round. Then he got over aggressive, tried to get it back, and that was when I clipped him right off the scratch.
Yeah, no, definitely a very measured technical fight against someone who has such a, technical pedigree in Reggie Barnett Jr. But you have mentioned a few times, being a Marine and much respect in that regard. I wasn't even really thinking to ask this per se, but curious to get your thoughts on Mike, the Marine Richmond, cementing himself as the BKFC light heavyweight champion and just that performance he had against Jared Warren towards the end of 2024 there.
Oh, I love like we talked before right after like any Marine like we share a brotherhood. Yeah, I think I think Marine Corps might be taking over this BKFC thing. And I'd be all about seeing it. Like I think that's the second or third Marine champ. We're a small segment of the population. Just shows the fighting spirit of the Marine Corps. And I like Jared Warren too. Super good guy. Uh, but family's family. It was great to see my boy Mike Richmond get the dub. Um, and like anytime when my fellow Marines are out there, like I enjoy watching them do battle.
Yeah, and same sentiment. Much respect to Jared Warren. Just thought to ask that because you'd kind of mentioned being a Marine a couple times, and just love to hear the, I guess, insights into that brotherhood that you have. But I'm curious to get your insights on your upcoming opponent here because similar to you, they have experience across ultimately multiple combat sports, but I guess just focusing on his BKFC run so far in there with quite a pedigreed fighter in Jimmy Rivera, a former featherweight title challenger in BKFC, and then getting that emphatic finish over Trevor Loken and actually doing so on the same card where you fought Reggie Barnett Jr. at BKFC 52. I guess in saying all of that, like what are your thoughts on Usmanov's skill set and resume in the sport so far and just combat sports overall, I suppose?
Yeah, good fighter, tough fighter. Like he's not afraid to mix it up. He's difficult, like difficult to put him away. He's definitely a tough fighter. Like Trevor Loken, is a good friend. Like he's came here and trained a bunch. Um, so like it'd be so like I watched that fight pretty closely. I saw he's very unorthodox. Like some of the ways that he throws, some of the ways that he moves. But and he likes to try to brawl at times. I think he's a little easily too easily hittable sometimes at points. Especially like I have a very aggressive style, but it's very exacting. Where I like to make you miss, like to make you pay. Throw multiple shots. In the in tight where it seems like, especially if I hit you bare knuck, you people get dizzy. And I think there'll be plenty of opportunities for that. But once again, he's going to be looking to throw back. So I gotta be aware of the counters. Like I said, he's a tough game fighter. He's been in there with a lot of real seasoned fighters. Especially Jimmy Rivera. So it's gonna be an action one. I kind of I'll take an early stop. I'll take an early stop, but I'd like to uh I'd like to make it a little bit more exciting if he's game for it. But I'm not gonna carry anybody. I'm not gonna make sure I'm not gonna purposely try to I'm not gonna I won't disrespect my opponent by uh trying to lengthen the fight and stuff like that. I'm always going to be looking to finish you. If you've got the grit to stay in there, then it usually makes for an exciting fight.
Yeah, well said, man. And I also love how many times you've shouted out your gym. It just speaks to the, familial kind of close-knit culture that seems to be at Modern Warrior MMA. And just curious to get your thoughts on just, some of the recent happenings with Bryan Battle as far as what he's been able to do in his UFC career. Because he seems like he's a surging talent within the company and just keeps getting bigger each and every fight from what I can tell, at the very least.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to remember. It's like I've known Bryan for a long time. I've known Bryan since his first amateur fight. He actually fought on. He was the amateur undercard on a LFA card that I was I think it was the main event or co-main. Uh, and I've been fighting for a long time. And he actually lost that fight. He got head kick knocked out spectacularly. His coach and me have been friends for a long time. And I just I just told him, I was like, come on in on Sundays, get a little extra work. We've got a wrestling class, and then we got open mat after that, and then he just showed up and then just started stealing all my stuff. Started he was just a sponge. Would ask great questions. Me and him have worked together for so long. It's great seeing how far he's progressed. And every time he gets better and better. Every time he goes out. You know, I, he is with realistically, I think he's two, three fights out of being in title contention, and that's amazing. And it just shows the level of work he's put in. Um, and he's got so many good people around him, that have helped him push him up. But he's at the end of the day, he's done the work. I always said, he wasn't. I don't think he was born a generational athlete like the Jones family, where you got two NFL players and one of the greatest fighters to ever live in one household. I don't think I don't think he was born with that type of athleticism, but he's got genius level work ethic where he just grinds, takes a lot of is willing to seek instruction, willing to seek instruction, ask questions, willing to learn, willing to humble himself to do that, and then and he just keeps growing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, such a cool talent to follow along with. So definitely appreciate the insights. I guess with just like a couple questions that I have here left to ask you. This one's a bit of a more playful one in a sense, but there's also another Keith Richardson in BKFC who happens to be a cruiserweight competitor. Have you crossed paths with the fellow Keith Richardson at all?
We've had a few conversations and stuff like that, and also because we've also had like some miscommunications due to that fact. I had like the BKFC was like they were hitting me up asking for like medicals and blood work, and I was like, I don't even have a fight booked, but I was like, okay, so I went and did the medicals, and like uh, so I was like, all right, well maybe they have something for me, but they just don't want to talk about it yet. So I went and got his blood work done. Like they didn't count it for him, but like but they hit me up and like set me up an appointment, and they're like, wait, why did you do your blood work? I'm like, you guys set it up. And then like I even made a funny video where like because yeah he's light heavy, uh, where I said I was bumping up because I was getting so many people messing me like, wait, you're not fighting on this card, right? I'm like, no, 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 no. There's another one. He's fighting on that card. And then I put like a fat suit on and said I was gonna take on Lorenzo and uh but yeah, he's a good dude though. Like me and him had a few conversations, but I'm Keith Richardson number one. All right, I was here first. I was uh, he's Keith Richardson number two.
You're the OG Keith.
Yep, OG Big Daddy Keith.
And this last point isn't really a question at all. I just think it's cool that you have a dog named Broly. I saw the relatively recent birthday celebration post and everything like that. As a Dragon Ball Z aficionado, I think that's cool, the Broly name and everything.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big anime nerd. Dragon Ball Z was like always a favorite growing up, but like yeah, I'm definitely an anime nerd. And like I actually got Broly from my mom's animal rescue. And like it was especially at the time I got him about six, yeah, he's six now. I got him at 6 years ago. Um, yeah, especially any of my like fellow Marine Corps brothers, Army brothers that like suffer from like PTSD and stuff like that. It's uh it's a good like without using the term therapy dog, but like it is good therapy. Like like having something that loves you on like um you know loves you and like you love back and try to like that you got to take care of. Like I think like great therapeutic tools that you can use. Combat sports, get the violence out. Get some energy. Plus, like with the gym atmosphere, anybody that you sweat together, bleed together, you get those tight bonds. That actually, that definitely helps. And then, get you an animal, whether it's a dog or a cat, like something that like helps you with the softer side of life, and like something that you got to take care of. Like it's real good therapy in that regard.
Yeah, so well said, man. And just, yeah, such a great thing to have in your life. Like that bond with a pet is truly unlike anything else, a certain unconditional kind of love and just nice
Definitely
little.
love animals more than people most of the time.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I definitely hear you out on that. And I mean, that could even be a great parting thought in and of itself, but I figured I'd give you the floor, Keith, in case you had any final thought you were wanting to impart as we're kind of wrapping up. I do appreciate you making the time to talk today.
Oh, no problem. It's been a pleasure. Um, yeah, just February 28th, Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you're in the area, come. If or watch it on the app, like you know, Keith Richardson fight, like they're always spectacular. That's why almost every fight that I've been in since I entered the scene has been performance worthy. Whether it's knockout of the night, fight of the year, like every fight has been nothing but action. And this fight will be no different. Like these are two top of the food chain guys getting ready to throw down, but we know who's going to come out the victor.
Well, again, to reiterate, thank you so much for making some time to talk ahead of your upcoming BKFC Fight Night main event. And just, yeah, a great clash with Bekhzod Usmonov coming up, one I'm definitely excited for. But great to have your insights imparted today on Bare Knuckle Bowker. And you have a good rest of your day, Keith, and looking forward to peeping the fight when it goes down as well there, man.
You too. Appreciate it, brother. Have a good one.